Happy Wednesday, everyone. We are back with another conversation today about living well and figuring out where you're going to retire and how you are going to make it and how to have fun and enjoy your golden years. So, today, what I want to do is talk a little bit about Florida. And if you live there or if you have something that you want to chime in, I would love to hear from you because I've done my research. I talked to a bunch of my clients that currently live there and I said, I need some information. So send it over. And they did. And what I want to talk about today are the 10 reasons why you don't want to retire in Florida, why it's not a good place. And this is what I want. This is what I want to talk about and jump in. When you see all the research and all the information on social media and on internet, in most of the studies, Florida is listed as the number one place for many reasons. People want to head down there because there's no income tax, because it's a warm climate and there's palm trees and the sun is always shining. And those are all great reasons. But besides those things, besides the fact that there's no income tax, there are other things that are underlying that, and this is what I want to share with you today. So here we go. The 10 reasons are. So the first one is overall, if you think about it, Florida is a small state. It's not like Texas. It's not like Nevada. It's small. And Florida is crowded. So here's how I want you to look at it. Estimated Florida population of about 22 million includes about 5 million residents that are 65 and older. And by 2030, which is majority of the baby boomers when they're all going to turn 65, that number is expected to crack about 6 million. Okay, that's a lot of golf carts. Some other popular retirement states in Southeast are Georgia, Alabama, the Carolinas. They all skew much younger than Florida. And between 2023, Florida experienced quite a significant influx of new residents. And this is just one of the things that I wanted to point out to you. When Corona was in full swing, a lot of people were working from home and they said, you know what? I want that warm climate. I don't have to worry about heading into work. I'm going to head down south. And a lot of people migrated and transitioned to Florida. According to various sources, about 1.2 million moved to Florida during that period of 3 years. Okay. In the period from July of 21 to July of 22, approximately 444,000 people moved to Florida, according to Tampa Bay. The state saw a net migration and immigration gain of almost 260,000 people from July of 2020 to July of 2021. In 22, around 445,000 people moved to Florida, contributing to its status as the number one state for net migration during that time, according to the Consumer Affairs. So as of the latest data, if you wanted to look at, okay, this is the total people, there are about 4.5 million people that are ages 65 and older that reside in Florida. And that group represents about 21% of Florida's total population, just to give you an idea. And it's only going to grow because people are still thinking that Florida, according to many data and many reports, is a number one state to retire. And if you think about it in general, yes, it's favorable climate, no state income tax, variety of senior-friendly communities. Cities like Port St. Lucie, Fort Myers, Palm Bay, and Lakeland, they do have significant senior populations. We also have the Villages, which is a huge town in its own that's spanning a couple of different zip codes. That is an amazing retiree mecca. And like, for example, Fort Myers has a senior population of 22% because it's known for its scenic waterways, affordable living costs, whilst Port St. Lucie has 20.4% population over the age of 65 and offers numerous golf courts and planned communities that are ideal for retirees. So that's a lot of people. And one thing just to keep in mind, because so many people moved during the COVID timeframe between 2023, the retirees are there, but also there's quite a few of the population in general in the state. And a lot of people are starting to feel that amount of crowdness. So that was reason number one. Number two, Florida is crawling with critters. If you guys have visited, and there's lizards, there are palomino bugs, which they are called that, but most of the time they look like roaches, and they can get really big. And depending on how you are feeling about insects, maybe versus small critters like mice and rats, that might make you uncomfortable. There are iguanas, you're going to see alligators, and it's that swampy humid air that's kind of tropics, which is what is normal for that kind of climate. So if you're not happy with critters, you probably are not going to like Florida. Number three is tourism. And this is where I just want you to realize that that's just a fact of life in the state of Florida. You have the most touristy place, in my opinion, is Orlando area because of all of the theme parks. And that is basically 24/7, 365 days. You're going to have crowds and tourists, and of course, all of the industries that are around the tourism servicing everybody that comes, because that is the support of the economy. So Orlando, we have Tampa with clear water and around surrounding beaches. Miami, of course. That means also the traffic on the roads. And this is where I want you to kind of get a pulse check on your patience level. Is this something that you're willing to deal with? Because it's going to be on a regular basis nonstop. Reason number four is, okay, even though it's an amazing thing not to have a state income tax, which is what a lot of people think about, but I want you to realize that if there is no state income tax, the state government has to get their income from somewhere else. And a big part of that is, of course, is the tourism industry. The Airbnbs and the hotels pay a hefty tax to the counties as well as to the state. And it takes a while to establish residency. And also, if you look at some of the sales taxes and when you buy a car, you'll see that some of those taxes are hefty. So I encourage you, if you are considering moving to Florida, you need to do some research. And one of the best things to do is to visit and go down there and spend some time in the summer, so that way you can truly experience the heat. What does that feel like? Is this something that you can handle? And also go, of course, in the wintertime when it's cooler, and to see what you think, and talk to the locals. Ask them how they like it. What don't they like? Which areas? What's their preference? That's like one of the best ways. So what I did is, when I talked to some of my clients, I have quite a few of them that live in different parts of Florida, I asked them to email me what are some of their everyday costs that they are working with, just to give you some ideas. Okay, so here's a first bundle of numbers that I want to share with you. So this is for my clients that live on the Gulf side, just a bit south of St. Petersburg, right? Just to give you an idea where they are. Homeowners insurance for 1 year, $8,066. Flood insurance for 1 year, $800. Auto policy for 2 cars for 1 year, $4,000. Utilities to include like gas, electric, water, and trash removal are $3,600 for the year. Property tax for 1 year is $6,500. Okay, so that's one family. Another one is in the area of Orlando, and her numbers are, utilities are about $3,600 a year with a pool that's open all year, but no pool heater. Auto is about $1,600 for the year. Homeowners insurance is $3,800 for the year. And some people who also need flood insurance is going to be additional. Property taxes are about $4,000 a year. You also have HOAs. That's an additional expense that people don't realize. A lot of communities in Florida have HOA fees. It could be something like $250 per month, but it's very common to see them go up to $400, if not more, for some residential communities. Plus, also don't forget, you're going to have pest control which is a must, as well as lawn care if that is not something that is included in your HOA fees. Another family that I know who are actually contemplating maybe even moving out of state, they are in a Miami, Hollywood area. They also pay almost between $8,000-9,000 a year for their homeowners insurance. So this is what I wanted to share with you, is that some of these prices are just completely outrageous and that's just your cost of living. So imagine if you're moving down there and you're going to be retired, which means that you have a fixed income. These are some of the costs that you're not going to be able to control. There are some things that we always talk about controlling your expenses, but when it comes down to insurance, it's very hard. And I always encourage you, and you guys know that from my e-newsletters, is that you need to shop your insurance every year. It doesn't matter if you live in Florida or somewhere else. Every year, 2 months prior to when my insurance is due to renew, I have a reminder in my Google Calendar to start shopping around. That includes your homeowners, that includes your auto policy. If you have an umbrella policy, you shop for that too. You talk to different providers, you check on and make sure that you're giving them consistent information on what you want your coverage to look like. What is your liability? What is your deductible? Things like that. You give them a list and you make that all even for every single carrier. So that way you're truly comparing apples to apples. The next one is number 5. You are going to sweat, and you're going to sweat a lot. Florida has earned 4 spots on the list of the top 10 sweatiest cities in the United States. And it all depends on you, on how much of a tolerance that you have. If you want to think about it in terms of the climate, you have Floridians call to the traditional summer months, like June, July, and August, they're winter, because they just don't want to go outside and they're hibernating. So that's something that you are going to have to experience. And this is why doing a test run and spending a month or so maybe there to get a feel for how the climate and the weather is going to determine whether you can actually tolerate such a heat or not. And it's not like it's just dry heat, which is a lot easier to tolerate. It's very much humidity is where you feel a lot worse because of that heat. So that's number 5. Number 6, fun is expensive. And this is where we're talking about swimming pools and some of the other things that you always admire, including lanais. So lanais, for example, for me is one of my favorite things because you can actually sit outside and enjoy the weather and eat without having a swarm of mosquitoes like in other places up north. And if you are looking at putting in a pool, some of the estimates come in between $60,000 and $100,000. And the lanais are also very expensive to build as well. So if you want to enjoy that outdoor space, it's going to cost you quite a bit of money. And also the maintenance on both, because screens rip all the time. Pools have issues on a regular basis. You have to maintain them. That's a monthly payment that you have to make unless you do it yourself. And replacement of the filters is costly. And if you are having a heater as well, if your pool is heated, for example, the one couple that mentioned it to me, I think they paid $6,000 for a replacement pool heater, depending if you have electric one or gas. So just food for thought. That was number 6. Number 7, if you also want to think about the fact that the sun can also take a toll on your skin. A lot of people don't think about it, but yes, vitamin D is awesome, but it can also cause cancer, skin cancer. So, many big boomers who grew up in the 60s and 70s grew to the beach, slathering on baby oil to enhance the tan. SPF, who knew? And those same boomers who are now aging are eager to head over to the tropical Florida sunshine. But consider the dark side. Too much sun can cause premature wrinkling, uneven skin coloring, and of course, even worse. Prolonged sun exposure and frequent sunburns can also increase your skin, your risk of skin cancer. And sun worshippers that are urged to avoid the sun between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m., which is where the UV is going to be the highest and the most damaging. So think about that as well, food for thought. Number 8 on our list are the hurricanes. You guys know that the hurricane season is coming up. We're going to be hearing a lot about them. And Atlantic hurricane season is a very long one. It actually runs from June 1st to November 30th, which is fully half of the year, peaking in August through October. And Florida is in the crosshairs of many of the deadly and destructive Atlantic hurricanes. So just food for thought. And if this is something that you don't want to deal with, that makes you nervous, then perhaps Florida is not a place for you. Which brings me to reason number 9. You have hurricanes and flooding. Well, guess what? That means you need hurricane insurance and you need flood insurance. And that means higher homeowner insurance premiums. So that's one. And two, the building is also different in Florida. You also need hurricane windows, special strength windows. You also can get hurricane shutters. So there are other expenses that you can invest in to make sure that your home is in good shape. However, if you have a mortgage, you're going to be required to carry extra insurance because of where you're located. And you know what? On the topic of insurance, what I also want to tell you from personal experience is there are actually many insurers that no longer insure homes in Florida. They completely left the state because they realized that this is going to be a constant source of premiums or of payouts. And of course, insurance is a for-profit business. It's not a nonprofit organization. So a lot of companies have left, which means there are a few companies that are still left. And that's one of the reasons why the premiums are so high, is because there are just not enough companies out there who are interested and are working in the state to provide insurance services. So that was reason number 9. And number 10 brings me back a little bit to the tourism, to the crowds, and to a lot of people. Overall, I did put that as a separate list because traffic and congestion, because it can get really bad. And which also kind of ties into the fact that when you have so many people, I feel that the infrastructure is not catching up as fast as the people who are coming to the state to live here. If you think about with schools and roads, especially, this is why the traffic and condition is so bad. It's just the infrastructure has not caught up with the amount of the influx of the people that came to the state. And that also then goes into the conversation of how is the healthcare in the state? Is the healthcare, are there enough doctors to take care of the people when somebody gets sick? Are there enough nurses and support staff in the hospitals? I've heard some stories where that wasn't the case and some things were missed. And a family ended up bringing their loved one back up north because of the lack of healthcare that he received in the Florida area. So all of that kind of ties into of really thinking about and seeing if Florida is the right destination for you based on what's important to you. If you don't tolerate crowds and traffic, probably not a good idea. If you want to make sure that you have really good healthcare, Florida does not rank on the top for healthcare. If you are having issues with the heat and the humidity on a regular basis, then maybe Florida is not the right place for you. If you are on a lower income scale, when you figure out your expenses and you figure out your income that you will have coming in that is going to be fixed during your retirement, Florida may not be a good place for you because of the rising costs that you have no control over, especially the insurance for various things. So those are the things that I wanted to share with you today, are the top 10 things of why you may consider not moving and retiring to Florida, but considering some other states as well. So if you have any questions about Florida or some other states, or you wanted to talk about where to potentially downsize and retire and move and get some good ideas, hey, I'm here for you. I'm all ears. I would love to help you brainstorm. But this is what I have for you today. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you soon again. Bye, everybody.